I'm Rose Stanley, and this is World at Work TV. I'm joined today by Kyra Cavanaugh from Life Meets Work, and we're going to be talking about the future of work. Kyra, what do you see as the future of work?
Well, I think it's so interesting. We keep talking about, from a very futuristic perspective, what the world of work is going to look like. And I think the only way we're going to get there is to actually do the work inside of our organizations right now that we've been putting off. Training our leaders, focusing our leaders' attention on how being good to people is good for profits, and really doing kind of what we always call the harder work of HR so that our leaders can be prepared and open to all of those future trends, whether it's the shift to a more kind of freelance work force, or whether it's some of the other trends that we've been talking about. At the end of the day, unless we turn inward and look at how to open up leaders' minds to some of these new trends, we won't get to the future very easily.
Kyra, in your company, are you actually seeing more leadership opportunities, more organizations realizing that they need to look to that future?
Yeah, when you look at what happens to leadership development in a recession, we all know what happened. It's one of the first budgets to be cut. And so we hear from organizations of all shapes and sizes that sort of dry spell of leadership development needs to change, and it's changing very quickly. We see that in the numbers. So as organizations are recognizing millennials are here to stay, and we all need to figure out how to prepare millennials for their future as leaders. And as we continue to deal with the burnout of middle managers and organizations, we're hearing more and more attention being paid to really how do we reinvigorate, re-energize that core of our workforce so that they can be prepared for the future. And so we all can be really engaging the workforce we have as the talent pool continues to shrink. So yeah, we're seeing it being discussed quite significantly.
So in light of that, Kyra, what do you think that HR professionals should be focusing on right now?
I've seen over the last, really the history of HR, but especially the last 8 years or so, a desire to sort of program our way out of some of the challenges that are facing us. We saw it in terms of significant investments in wellness. We saw it in terms of all the workshops about how to deal with 4 generations in the workplace. We are beyond being able to program our way out of the talent shortage, being able to program our way out of the amount of workload and lack of engagement in our organizations. And so leaders, HR leaders, really need to be focused on how they can be working with businesses, with their businesses and their managers and their businesses to get very real and authentic about what is troubling the workforce today. What we hear is very much burnout, deep dedication to the organizations that people are working for, but this sense of helplessness. I don't know what else I can do. I don't know how many more hours I can possibly work. I don't know how many more vacations I have to stay plugged in. I don't know how much more I can handle all of this stress. And we can't program our way out of that by offering massage and yoga. We've really got to get at this issue of headcount, the issue of leadership, and the issue of priority setting so that people can get unstuck from all of the stress and workload that they're dealing with right now and help our organizations grow.
So what are some organizations going to do then?
Well, we're seeing a big investment in leadership training. We're seeing a big investment in stress management, energy management, resilience, whatever words you want to call it, really to help both individuals build skills for setting boundaries, for prioritizing, for saying no, and not getting in trouble for it. And really then helping teams and leaders figure out how do we work together to support each other's work lives at the same time that we're supporting ourselves and each other as people, and how do we bake that into the operation overall. HR can't just be the only organization or the only department in an organization that's focused on trying to fix or trying to address some of these issues. Middle managers and line leaders have to be getting involved, and it starts with senior level commitment.
So you mentioned the managers. Are you seeing in the companies that you're working with that managers are starting to get more involved?
Yeah, we're seeing and hearing from managers that we work with and train and develop on a regular basis now. And we really see them struggling with, how do I motivate those employees who do have the knowledge, who've been in our organizations for most of their careers? How do we deal with this issue of workload? How do I keep people that I really care about and who are really critical to the organization? How do I keep them from burning out? How do I keep them from leaving? How do we create a culture that people want to come to? And we're working in organizations like insurance, in construction, industries that are really leading in terms of this talent shortage and this issue of not being able to attract enough talent because maybe their industries aren't appealing enough to some of the newer workforce, or organizations that have been traditionally very site-based, who have had very strict sort of face time and hourly work rules. They're the ones who right now are really doing some leading edge things in terms of rethinking their culture, because it's a matter of survival at this point.
So I'm perhaps guessing that managers are not necessarily turning to HR as much as HR should be reaching out to managers to help them with the issues that they're dealing with the staff that they have, or the lack of staff that they may have.
Yeah, and we've been coaching HR leaders over the last 2 years or so to feel comfortable having those kinds of coaching and guidance discussions with their line managers, with those units in their businesses that they're responsible for. They have to be in a role where they can be providing business strategy, where they can be helping managers think about the people part of their business. HR can no longer, and we've been talking about this in the field for a long time, they can't be relegated to those benefits and comp kinds of issues that line managers continue to relegate them to. And it's a combination, right? It's not line leaders' fault and it's not HR's fault, but we're at a point, a really critical point in organizations where HR and the business functions have to start seeing that they both have skill sets and knowledge that can be really beneficial to each other, and they have to stop pigeonholing each other as, well, you're operations and I'm people and never the twain shall meet.
There really needs to be a partnership.
There really does. There really does. And it's actually not as difficult as it seems, like when we're sitting here talking about it, that once HR leaders get together in a room, have a little bit of time to vent, just like line leaders need, and be able to start to embrace that they can elevate their role and be really, really critical and respected and heard in an organization, they get so excited and they start to feel even more engaged in their role in HR, just like line leaders do once they can get detached from their to-do list of checking off way too much work and not having the capacity and resources to do it. So it's an exciting time.
The future of work is here already, isn't it?
It is, and it's a brick wall that's going to hit us right in the face if we don't start getting really creative really fast.
Thanks a lot, Kyra, for
Thank
your
you.
insight.
Thanks so much, Rose.
For World at Work TV, I'm Rose Stanley.